Alright, so what's going on, guys? My name is Muffles and welcome to the channel. So today I would like to discuss Citadelle Day more, as I find Citadelle to be the ultimate mixed bag when it comes to Black Ops 6 zombies. So Citadelle was the first map to be added to the game after Terminus and Liberty Falls, and in my opinion it really should have been the best map in the game, just based off premise alone, especially coming off the end of Terminus. When they decided to bring back the Chaos story in the end of the Terminus cutscene, I really thought the story could go anywhere, and I was so excited to see what they would do by adding the idea of magic back into zombies. When they dropped the trailer for this map and I saw the elemental swords and we were literally going back to a castle, like literally just like Dreisendracht, I couldn't help but be excited about it. And like I said, the premise alone seemed to be mixing Chaos elements with an Origins DE type of aesthetic, and on the surface I just really thought that couldn't miss, because Terminus was such a good map, Liberty Falls was great for its gameplay, so moving forward with such a great foundation already set in place, and combining that with Chaos-inspired Origins, Dreisendracht elements, just seemed like a story that just could not miss. It seemed literally like the best of both worlds from a surface level point of view, and I think they largely delivered on such a cool premise, but to me it only works if you view this map in a vacuum separated from the rest of the maps that BO6 offers. I think Citadelle honestly gets retroactively worse once you start comparing it to everything that came after it, and I think that can largely be said for almost every map in the game, but I think Citadelle gets hit the hardest by this. And to make this make sense, I need to dive head first into the story of Citadelle before we discuss anything else, but later in the video you'll see how this kind of bleeds into the gameplay. So right off the bat, I have no major issues with the Citadelle story, but I do find that the writing in this map is just kind of convenient. In the end cutscene of Terminus, we learned so many new things about the story all in one cutscene, and I think a lot of things just conveniently line up for all of the events to take place on Citadelle. So basically, our new crew finds out that Richtofen is after the Sentinel artifact, that the artifact could possibly be what we need to bring Maxis back from the Dark Ether, that the leader of the French syndicate, Franco, who's also the man responsible for Myra's brother being sent to Terminus Island, was hired by Richtofen to get the Sentinel artifact, that Ravenov has been working for the French syndicate and actively interrogating and torturing Gabriel Kraft from Vanguard zombies, and that all of this is conveniently taking place on Citadelle. So what this does is it sets up the Terminus crew's revenge on Richtofen, a plot to get the Sentinel artifact, reunites us with Ravenov, brings back Kraft, and gives Maya a reason to come along for the ride. So it's all in just one convenient package. And if that's not a massive exposition dump, I don't know what is. But honestly, regardless of all of that just feeling like way too convenient and just all of it being piled up on you all at once at the end of that one cutscene, I can still say that all of this does accumulate in what is a very good map. It's just kind of everything that comes after it where the pieces kind of start to fall apart. Because like I said in the beginning, if you view this map in a vacuum, the story of this map when it's self-contained is very good, because on top of everything I just said, a major part of the story has to do with the Owl and his 4 bastard sons. Now this is where we really start to draw parallels between Citadelle and Origins, because just like Origins, there is 4 knights with 4 elemental wonder weapons. So how these knights and how the wonder weapons fit into the story is actually completely different in Citadelle than it is in Origins, and I still do prefer the route that they went with it in Origins over the way that they did it in Citadelle. So without getting too complicated on the original Ether story, basically, in the story of Origins, you recreate the 4 elemental staves that were used to fight in the Great War at the end of Primus's cycle, and in Citadelle we are tasked to complete 4 different challenges designed by the Owl for his bastard sons to obtain 4 different elemental swords, with all challenges being designed for each bastard son specifically, and it's meant to outline their specific quirks or specific characteristics about them. This is actually represented in each ability of each sword as well.
Sir Guy de Saint-Michel, known to most as the Owl, the man who may have single-handedly destroyed the legendary Knights Templar. Guy was the leading expert of his day in all matters occult. His prowess in the dark arts won him his knightbird sobriquet. That reputation made it easy to accuse the Templars of heresy, and while their leadership was burned at the stake, the Owl escaped to Avalon. But he would have never succeeded without his bastards. 4 sons who stopped at nothing to win his favor. Their true names are lost to history, but their noms de guerre still inspire fear and his reptilian lack of mercy. The lion was the brightest of the four, always keen to please his master. And the raven, like his father, was a creature of the shadows.
And I'll get more into the specifics of each sword and what abilities they have when we start getting to that point in the Easter egg in the story. But for now, all we need to know is that there's a raven sword, a lion sword, a dragon sword, and a lightning sword. So to start the story proper, we begin in Avalon, in Citadel, with the crew arriving here. We reunite with Ravenov, inform him on what is going on with the Sam AI and why we're here to get the Sentinel artifact. And from here we carry on into the castle where we complete the Pack-a-Punch quest, and then the first actual step of the Easter egg will be talking to Gabriel Kraft, and he tells us we need to obtain an amulet found within the castle in order to obtain the Sentinel artifact. So this is all well and good so far. There's nothing too crazy here. It's pretty much the exact same stuff we're accustomed to seeing in the other Black Ops 6 maps up to this point. The first step of the map is always to open up the Pack-a-Punch, but after we speak to Kraft, this is when the actual Easter egg begins. So again, just like Origins, the very first step to this Easter egg is to obtain the 4 elemental wonder weapons. But also just like Origins, there's many aspects of this Easter egg that are very non-linear. There's plenty of other steps within the map that you can go about doing whilst you're doing the swords, and that's actually a big quality I think this Easter egg has, and it's a big quality that Origins had as well, and many other Black Ops 3 maps had. You can kind of work on all the steps in tandem, as there's a lot of items that you need to pick up around the map, but a lot of them are found around each other in specific areas, so it flows very well together in my opinion. And as far as the Easter egg steps go, I think this is one of the biggest qualities that Citadel has. You're not stuck with doing specifically the swords first. You can work on other aspects of the Easter egg as you move along. So after you speak to Kraft, the first step that you have to do after that is collect a stamp, and these stamps can be used to go up to these knights and pick up whichever sword you want to begin working on. And I always start with the lion sword or the lightning sword just to kind of get them out of the way. A big reason that I start with the lion sword is just because it's my personal favorite sword, and it honestly reminds me a lot of Dawnbreaker from Skyrim. But I'll also do the lightning sword as well, just because I really like the incantation that you get while you're doing the upgrade quest for this sword. So the process of getting each sword is actually very similar to one another. It either comes down to just doing a challenge or doing some type of puzzle, and some have a little mix of both, but generally it's kind of the same thing for each one of them. None of them are super difficult to do, and I have no major gripes with any of them, but I will say there is one step that I kind of have an issue with when it comes to these swords, and that is the Raven sword. So the only reason I kind of dislike the quest to get the Raven sword is because of the puzzle that it makes you do. So what you have to do is go into this room over here that was previously hidden until you talk to Kraft and activate the Pack-a-Punch, and you need to find a little animal bone of some kind, and you bring it down into the bottom of the tavern and you insert it into this little wheel puzzle. And my biggest issue with this puzzle is that it isn't even really a puzzle at all. Depending on which animal bone you have, you now have to line up 2 different symbols. There's no way of solving this on your own. You just have to know the answer. There's no indication of this bone means these 2 symbols. It doesn't give you any type of information like that, nor does it make sense for this animal to mean either one of these symbols. You literally just have to line up 2 random ones until you get it, or like me, have an image saved in your phone or on your desktop somewhere of just what the correct combination is depending on whichever animal bone you picked up. But then yeah, the step after this, you kind of have to guide these orbs that are shot out of the puzzle once you put in the correct combination, and these orbs will fly around and you have to guide them into this little void that's formed in the ground, and you have to do this 3 times. So doing this on a high round or mid round at all is kind of tough to do, but it's not tough in like a fun challenging way, it's tough in just like an annoying way. And there is kind of no balance to it. Either you do this mid round with a bunch of zombies and it's nearly impossible to do, or you do this on an early round, or you leave a crawler or something and it's just kind of boring and you just kind of stand there while you train the orbs around. So yeah, the Raven sword is not the funnest one to do. I do think that every other sword and the challenges they provide are a little more entertaining, and I see no reason why the Raven sword should be more difficult to get. It isn't even like significantly better than any of the other ones, and they all have their own abilities and stuff, but at the end of the day, the Raven sword is not going to be much better than the rest, so I just don't get why this one had to be not even more difficult to do, just more annoying to do. So if I'm not doing the Easter egg, which is not very often, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but if I'm not doing the Easter egg, you'll never see me getting the Raven sword. I'm just not going to put myself through the upgrade process. So like I said, each sword has their own ability or their own quirk that relates directly to the knight that they are associated with, so they each each have a main like ultimate ability, and they also each have their own passive ability. For instance, the Lion Sword, when you get it all charged up, it unleashes this little aura of energy around you, and when you run through the zombies, it'll just kill anything that runs into you. And its passive ability is slowly giving you health every time you melee a zombie. So pretty much the passive abilities for every sword is the exact same thing as just having an ammo mod on your sword that are already present in the game for every other weapon. But the meat and potatoes of the sword is just really that main ability, that main ult ability that it has. So moving on, the lightning sword can shoot a beam of lightning, the dragon sword can shoot a massive fireball, and the raven sword can open this massive void that sucks all the zombies in, just like a Casimir or just like a Gersh device from Moon. Each sword also has their own incantation quest that you can do, and usually starts with you doing a puzzle or collecting an item. But depending on which one you're doing, you may need to do a puzzle or a quest before getting the item, or you pick up the item and then do the puzzle or the quest. So they're also very similar in that regard. Each one of these is very simple to do as well, just like the swords themselves. And I really love that 2 items that you pick up for doing these quests are direct callbacks to the Chaos story. One of them is for the Dragon Sword, and it's literally Ra's Ankh, which is a direct callback to Ra, one of the gods in Chaos story. And one of them is the Horseshoe of Pegasus, which is a direct callback to Ancient Evil, the final map in Black Ops 4 Zombies. But yeah, once you complete the incantation quests and you pick up the scroll for the desired sword, and now you just have like an ammo mod type AAT in your pocket to use on demand. And some people don't really like this just because it is really simple. They don't find the incantation to be special enough. If it is just kind of mimicking the exact same thing that AATs do already, which honestly, valid criticism, but in my opinion, not the biggest issue. I will say the one thing I really love about the incantations though is you can one-hit any type of special enemies with these. It doesn't matter which one you use as well. I'm pretty sure any of them are capable of one-shotting any of the special enemies. But it is so satisfying when an amalgam jumps into the map and you shoot him with this little bolt of lightning out of your fist, and it just instant goop on the floor, instantly melts into that little puddle of goop that he belongs in. It's just so satisfying to be able to have this much power over the map. And something else I failed to mention is that the swords are also able to parry attacks. So if an amalgam shoots out his little arm and grabs you and pulls you in, you can block that shit. And with those two things combined together, you shouldn't have any issues with any type of special enemies. Like even the doppelgast that they added into this map, they should not be an issue. You can just one-shot them and then they're off the map. And also, if you have the Picky Eater augment on your Vulture Raid, whenever you're killing zombies, they will also just be dropping a bunch of incantations that you can keep picking up. And it's just really nice to never run out of these things and just keep killing the special enemies that are spawning in, and just never having a problem with that is just really satisfying, and I like it a lot. So with the swords out of the way and talked about, I kind of want to get into the rest of the Easter egg steps that I have a problem with or that I like. And one other Easter egg step that I do kind of have an issue with is the Tome of Ritual pages and getting kills on these point traps in a specific order. So basically, at some point in your game, you'll come up to this wall down here in one of the Undercroft rooms, and when you melee this wall, it reveals a bunch of symbols to you, and these symbols match Roman numerals on jars that you can find in the tavern, and you use those Roman numerals to tell you what order to shoot the symbols in. And once you do this and you've done this correctly, a book behind the wall will reveal itself, and it'll show you that it is missing 4 pages, and these pages can be collected upstairs, all in the stamina room. Once you collect all these pages and place them in the book, it tells you which point of power traps to activate in which order to do it. Once you do it in that correct order, the step will be complete and you can move on with the Easter egg. So I kind of have an issue with this quest step just because it's just a little annoying to do, and in my opinion it kind of interrupts the flow of the Easter egg. Like everything else kind of flows pretty good up to this point. Nothing really stops you in your tracks, but I always find if you have to go somewhere within the map and take pictures of a symbol with your phone or write it down on a whiteboard or something, it can drastically just mess up the pacing of the game. And I know that there is a way to skip past this step without even completing the puzzle. You can find out what order to do the point of power traps in before even meleeing the wall or putting in the code or any type of anything like that. You can literally skip the entire step if you want to, but personally I find that to be an exploit that was not intended to be in the game, and I'm not even sure if it still works. When I was doing this Easter egg recently, I was trying to do the skip because I really just did not want to do the step. Like I was dreading doing the step. I didn't want to go through it, but I could not get the skip to work, so I just ended up having to do the step anyways. So it either just wouldn't work at all, or I'd look at the pages and they would be lighting up in the incorrect order, so just completely glitching out the entire step. So it messed me up more to try to do the glitch to skip it than the amount of time it would have taken for me just to actually do the puzzle, which honestly, fair enough. you're not intended to skip it, but I just really don't like doing this step, and I find it to be more tedious than fun. But luckily from here, the Easter egg is just right back into the action, and pretty much the rest of the Easter egg until you get to the boss fight is just saluting the 4 knights in a specific order and then shooting them with their associated incantation scroll. After that, this little orb will spawn in, and then all you have to do from here is take this orb to 4 different places around the map and then getting kills with the associated sword that is required for that spot. After this, you can take the orb over to this wall and you place it on the wall and it opens up a secret room. Now the scene in here with the owl kind of confuses me still, because I'm not sure if he's supposed to be a ghost or if he's supposed to be some type of hologram, because he talks to you as if you're one of the bastard sons that managed to get this far on the journey, but it's as if he can't actually see you, because obviously we aren't the bastard sons, we're just in their place doing the quests for them in a way. So I don't really get if this is just like some type of pre-recorded message left by the owl. Like, that doesn't really make any sense though, so I don't know what's going on here. This one's still just like, it kind of confuses me, but either way, he tells you that you've made it this far and now you just need to defeat the guardian of the amulet to be victorious. So yeah, I guess that means it's boss fight time. So you grab this little vial of red stuff that the owl left on the table, bring it over to the spawn area and place it on the guardian statue. This is when the boss fight starts. The guardian statue transforms into an actual golem. He jumps in the air, slams the ground, and teleports you into the boss fight. Now this boss fight, in my opinion, is not as good as Terminus. I mean, it's obviously going to be better than Liberty Falls because there wasn't even a boss in that boss fight, but regardless of that, the guardian is a cool boss. I just kind of find it to be on the easier side for my liking. He has 3 phases and you just shoot at him and dodge his attacks all the way through all 3 phases, and each of his attacks don't really change much from phase to phase, but there's lava on the sides of the arena that drops in as you go through the phases, and it slowly encircles you, so it just makes the arena smaller and smaller, which I think is pretty cool, because if he does land an attack on you and like throws you out into the lava, you take a lot of fire damage. So if you do happen to get hit, it can be fatal at times, but if you're paying attention and watching his attacks as he jumps at you will have no problem defeating him. And it really is more strategic than anything. There is a method to this boss fight, just like Terminus, and it is really hard to fail if you know what you're doing and you know what to watch out for. So even if the actual boss fight is kind of lackluster, I do think the cinematics of it is really cool, like everything he says to you between phases.
Still alive. Perhaps you will prove worthy of my name after all. Now the question you must answer is as simple as it is profound. Which is my greatest creation? The guardian of the amulet, or you?
So yeah, the actual story in the boss fight and everything that Owl is saying to you while you go through the phases is super sick, and it just adds a lot to the story of the map, and I just really like it a lot. But once you defeat the Guardian and he drops the amulet, you pick that thing up, it'll begin the end cutscene. So within the end cutscene, we learn a couple of crucial pieces of information. So Gabriel Kraft tells us to take the amulet to the dig site, which is a direct reference to Origins. He also tells us to be careful with the Sentinel artifact and that it could destroy us. And the bombshell that he drops is when he tells us to not kill Richtofen because he is his son, which is just, I don't even know what to make of that, honestly. Next thing you know, Gabriel Kraft is dead. And just like that, the cutscene is over. So at the end of the day, as far as the story of Citadel goes, I think it is very good when it is self-contained. Because even though there's some really juicy stuff in here involving Chaos lore, what's going on with Richtofen, Gabriel Kraft, it's just combining all of these cool elements from BO4, from Vanguard, and from BO6 all together into what I think is a very good narrative. But it's just so unfortunate to me that none of this really carries forward into the rest of the game. And that's what I was meaning at the beginning of the video when I said that this map gets retroactively worse when you start comparing it to the other maps that come after it. Because within the story, all these chaos elements and all of this stuff coming back into this map made this map feel so peak, but at the exact same time, all of it ends in this map. It doesn't continue down into the other maps, and that's just such a shame to me. It just makes me wonder like why they even brought this stuff back in the first place. Why include all of these chaos elements and callbacks to Origins if you're not going to do anything with it? And I know they bring the ice staff back in the tomb, and and that's like a whole different topic for a different video that I plan on doing sometime down the line. Spoiler alert, I'm not a super big fan of the tomb. But yeah, I just find it super disappointing that it all started here and it all ends here. They really just needed to go further with all of this stuff, and I think what is in this map really does deliver, but at the same time, none of it is really explained. Like, why is Pegasus's horseshoe here? Why is Ra's Ankh in this map? Like, it just does not make sense. Like, it's cool for the callback and for the connection to Chaos Story, but why is it here? Just nothing gets explained. So that's why I just think that the story is just a really big mixed bag. And as far as the Easter egg goes, I think this Easter egg parallels Origins in the best ways that it can, but it also parallels Origins in the worst ways, because if you guys remember, one of the biggest criticisms about Origins is that it's a map made for its Easter egg, and I think the exact same thing can be said about Citadel. If you're not doing the main quest on Citadel, you're missing out on the entire bulk of the content. This is a map that is created for its Easter egg and for its wonder weapons, and I think it does a great job at shining in that way. If you want to play a map with great wonder weapons that is very centered on using wonder weapons, then Citadel is the map for you, and you can have a lot of fun doing it. But if you're not into doing Easter eggs and you don't care about getting the wonder weapon and you don't care about any of that stuff, then Citadel is just not the map for you, in the exact same way that Origins is not the map for a lot of people for the same reason. And if I'm being honest, I don't find the side Easter eggs on Citadel to be very interesting. I do a couple of them, like I always do the rat quest with the cheese wheel where you take it down into the pack-a-punch room. You put the cheese there after you've gotten all the rats. They eat the cheese, and it spawns in that crown, and it just goes up on your head, so you're just wearing this king's crown. I mean, it doesn't do anything. I mean, it looks cool, but it doesn't do anything. But the main reason for doing this is either for getting a perk, or a pack-a-punch crystal, or an ether tool, or a monkey bomb, or something like that out of this reward. And that's the main reason that I do this, is just to kind of get ahead in the match with a perk, or a pack-a-punch crystal, or something. But other than this quest, I don't really find a reason to do any of the other side quests. I know there's one to get a free perk, and I know you guys know that I love free perks, and I know I did actually praise Liberty Falls for this exact same type of Easter egg. But if this is a map created for its wonder weapons, I'm not going to be spawning in with a sniper rifle and going and shooting stuff to get a free perk. Like, I'm just not going to be doing it. I'm just going to play through the main quest, I'm going to get the sword, and I'm going to be using a sword for the entire match. And this is just another reason why I find this map to be just a mixed bag of just things that are really good and things that I just find so lackluster. Because there's a lot of really good stuff in here if you just look at the Easter egg, the main quest, the boss fight, all of that is just so good. But all of the side content and just like all the gameplay stuff, not including the swords of course, is just not very interesting. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've never jumped on Citadel to do some camos. I've always gone on a different map, I've always jumped on Liberty Falls, I can even go on Terminus and get camos. But if I'm playing Citadel Daymore, I'm playing it for the swords. And I don't think anyone else can really disagree with that. I'm sure that you guys probably do the exact same thing. But yeah, this map is very good when it's isolated, and I can praise it for everything that is done right, but I will just never forgive it for promising all of this cool stuff and then all of it just being dropped in the very next map. Well, I guess it doesn't get like entirely dropped, but it is handled like insanely poorly throughout the rest of the game. Also, I just realized I forgot to talk about this. Maya kills Franco in this map. Yeah, like, what the hell? So you have to be playing as Maya, and it's a side quest where you go up to this radio. I don't even know what round you have to do this on. I think it's at some point after round 10, but this radio will start beeping. And if you're playing as Maya, you can communicate with Franco, and they'll unlock the door for you. And when you go inside, you walk down this chamber until you get to the end, and it plays a little cutscene of Maya kneecapping Franco and killing him. So I actually like this cutscene a lot, and I do think it's appropriate that Maya kills Franco in this map. But my only concern with this is that after this point, why does Maya continue to stay with the crew in the story? So there's this little intel radio where Maya and Gray are talking when they're on a ship or something like that, and she talks about getting back on the revenge train and going back with them and just continuing on the journey, but it just seems like so forced. It's like no person would just decide to be like, yeah, I'll just come along on this crazy ass shit with you guys for no reason. You know, like, it just doesn't make sense, and I just feel like that's so shoehorned in.
So you got any plans after this? After what, exactly? The whole bringing your friend back with the help of Hell's tech support thing? You know, I really don't. Thought that might be the case. You haven't just gotten off the revenge wagon myself. You have that look about you. How very insightful of you. Hey, with Nathan gone, I've got no crew, which in my profession is a super shitty spot to be in. I'm so sorry about Nathan. And I'm sorry you got swept up in all this. Thanks. Makes me sick what they did to him and the others. And it happens all the time. Well, maybe not to the extremes Nathan suffered, but people get snapped up and used like animals without a second thought. If I had to put money on it, I suspect you'd win person most likely to be able to fuck up that whole operation. I could. I know how those sick fucks work. Maybe I should get back on the revenge wagon. Wanna join me? Ladies only crew.
So I think maybe Franco should not have died in this map, but if he didn't die here, I don't know. I don't know where else they would have put it. And it really feels that way too. It really feels like they thought that there was nowhere else that they could put this, so they just put it here. Or if anything, they could have made it so where Franco died within the actual main quest and it wasn't allocated to a side quest. That would have made more sense as well. But what do I know? I'm not a game dev. I don't write stories for games or anything like that, but it just seems weird to me. So yeah, at the end of the day, this map ties up a lot of loose ends. When Gabriel Kraft dies, Franco dies, we get the amulet, and then we move on to the tomb. But it really does seem to me that the story just peaked at a weird time. Like, it took the entire premise at the end of Terminus, right? And it peaked in the very next map, and a lot of that was done in Citadelle, and it was only done in Citadelle, and then they moved on. So, I don't know, I just feel pretty edged at the end of the day. Like, they edged me with all this chaos stuff. They edged me with all the chaos stuff, and they edged me with all these promises, and then it just didn't happen. Like, you were almost there, and then boom. Nothing, you just stopped. I don't know, I have a hard time loving it, but at the same time, I have a hard time hating it. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about Citadelle de More. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys agree with me, don't agree with me, please leave it in the comment section below. I greatly appreciate all the love and support you guys have been giving me. I started this channel not even a month ago, and I've already gained 7 new subscribers, so thank you guys so much for subscribing. I really cannot thank you guys enough for it. And I know to a lot of people they'd be like, oh, 7 subscribers, like that's not shit, you know, but to me it really actually does mean a lot. I love going on the YouTube studio and looking at my analytics and seeing everything you guys are saying, and just seeing that people are genuinely watching it and genuinely enjoying what I'm putting out there. So I really do appreciate every bit of it, and I cannot thank you guys enough. But yeah, with that being said, Black Ops 7 is about a week away now at time of recording this, and I can't wait, man. Ashes of the Damned is going to be so fun. I'm so excited to see what Curse Mode is about, and if I don't see you guys before then, this video could come out after launch. I'm not very sure yet, but yeah, this has been Muffles, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.